There's a handout on the front seat up here if you're interested to follow along. So, Lord, I invite your presence just to give us ears to hear and minds to think, and that we would know your voice in the times we're in. Is this mic okay? It seems pretty echoey. Last week I spent out in farm country in Illinois, and it brought back a lot of memories of when I was more involved in farming. And so tonight I'm going to speak about God, the farmer. And I'm going to start let me say my second son is named Noah. And just prior to his birth, there was a verse in Genesis that, at that time, I was very involved in at that time, it was overwhelming, the farming tasks that I was involved in. But this is what it says in Genesis 5, verse 28 and 29. Lamech lived 182 years and became the father of a son. Now he called his name Noah, saying, "This one will give us rest from our work and from the toil of our hands, arising from the ground which the Lord has cursed." So if you remember back to Adam, Adam was asked to, when God made man and Adam and Eve, he said, multiply, subdue the earth. And then Adam and Eve, they messed up in the garden. They disobeyed God, and one of the results of that was the ground became cursed. So I'm going to start with Genesis 8:22. So on the way here, it was raining, and I saw a rainbow. What does a rainbow make you think of? What's that? What? Noah. Yes, it makes me think of Noah. So, and the promise, right? God said, when I see the rainbow, I'm going to remember my promise to Noah. So let's Genesis 8:22. So this is after Noah and his family were saved on the ark, and then Noah, he made an altar to the Lord, and he offered a sacrifice. And then this is what the Lord said: "I will never again curse the ground on account of man, for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, and I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." So in the scriptures, there's constant examples using a harvest, planting seeds, and God speaking about these things. So I just want to, again, the nice thing about Wednesday night is I can say things, and then you can talk about them and decide that I'm wrong about it. But I'm just going to make some connections. I'll try not to spend too much time in the context of some of these verses. But I want to show by these scriptures that God is a farmer, and the peoples of the earth are his seed. So in Hosea 2:21-23, I'm going to read that one. Take me a while to find them. "It will come about in that day that I will respond, declares the Lord. I will respond to the heavens, they will respond to the earth. And the earth will respond to the grain, to the new wine, and to the oil. And they will respond to Jezreel." The meaning of the name Jezreel is God sows. "I will sow her for myself in the land. I will also have compassion on her who had not obtained compassion. I will say to those who were not my people, 'You are my people.' And they will say, 'You are my God.'" So God's speaking to the prophet Hosea, talking about Israel, but this idea that Israel is being planted, and it's with the expectation of increase. Matthew 13:38. This is the Jesus spoke often in parables, and he used farming examples, and I think that they still apply. And what we see in the farming world can speak to us about God's plans for us. But Jesus answered when the disciples were they couldn't always understand what Jesus' point was. And after he told this story about the seed and the weeds being sown in the field, he said, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. As for the good seed, these are the sons of the kingdom. And the tares or the weeds are the sons of the evil one." So here again, we have people being compared to seed that are being planted in anticipation of a harvest. Psalm 2, 7 and 8. And this psalm is, I was just going to read 7 and 8. Let's see, I think it's in there, what I'm looking for. "I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, 'You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession.'" So this is pointing to Jesus, and that Jesus is the Son, and that God is promising the peoples as an inheritance to Jesus. I'm going to go to Psalm 126 next. The questions at the bottom of the page, if you have the page, are the questions for discussion following. So. And this is, I'll start reading in verse 4. "Restore our captivity," or in other words, return to us, O Lord, the ones that were taken captive and scattered. "As the streams in the south, those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting. He who goes to and fro weeping, carrying his bag of seed, shall indeed come again with a shout of joy, bringing his sheaves with him." And I was trying to think of what in our current day can we compare the excitement of the harvest for those that of the times, the Bible times, when everything depended on the harvest. And just the only handle I can get on that is when it was haying season on the farm, that I was involved in. It just, you had to be prepared. It was going to be so short. The weather had to be right. Everything had to be right. And then there's just this excitement that comes in this it's, to me, it was like a grace to carry it out and just go with it. And you can't plan. You can't always plan what has to happen. You know, if something breaks down, well, you got to get it fixed. All this, I don't know what compares to, except like in sports, when you build up to a championship or something, everything is about everybody doing their part. Everybody, you know, all their training, all their experience in the season, and maybe that's a little bit like the harvest, and then the joyful celebration after the harvest has succeeded. So, you know, I think we have trouble, really. You know, well, we don't need to be excited about the harvest. We can go down to the grocery store. You know, it's not the same for us. But in this time, the joy that was connected to the harvest was, I don't know if there was anything else that was greater as far as their daily life and throughout the year, and what it took to deal with the ground, again, to get a living from the ground. Amos 9:13. Going to have to move it along here. do want to read that one. Didn't mark them. Behold, days are coming, declares the Lord, when the plowman will overtake the reaper, the treader of grapes, him who sows seed, when mountains will drip sweet wine, and all the hills will be dissolved. So, to me, what this is saying is there's going to, that the harvest and the planting, there's going to be such a harvest that it all runs together with the planting. And to me, this is more than just, we have to decide when we think are these prophecies, are we still waiting to see this type of thing? But, again, we can just think, oh, well, maybe that was for then. But God over and over surprises us with prophecy, that it gets fulfilled way beyond even what almost we can get from it. But to me, this is pointing to not just the harvest of the land. It's pointing to a harvest of souls. And so, I don't know if you've heard, there's people in our time that are talking about 1 billion people coming to Jesus. So, this is, to me, we haven't seen the harvest that is promised to us and promised to Jesus. That the peoples from every tribe, every family on earth, there's people going to be in heaven. And I don't think we've seen it. And 1 billion, what's that? That's only a tenth of the earth. And that's, I'm not going to, like Leviticus, it says a tenth of the seed is holy to the Lord. A tenth of everything is the Lord's. This was in the, part of their rituals in the old covenant. But to me, it's pointing to something again. It's not, when we talk about tithing or the tenth, we think maybe first thing we think about is giving money in the offering plate. It was all about the seed. It was all about giving the best of the first fruits of the harvest to the Lord. And in the same way, to me, at least we should have an expectation that a tenth of the people of the earth could belong to the Lord. And, again, what's our part? At least to believe it, at least to believe that maybe we haven't seen this promise yet of the fulfillment of the harvest. What Caiaphas, here the enemy of Jesus, said about when he said it's expedient that one man should die for the people, but then it said, this he said, that Jesus would gather those that were scattered, the children of God that were scattered across the earth. So Jesus was sent to be part of a harvest. Let's see which one is. So, sometimes I wonder, Dave, what are you doing in the harvest? And I'd like, Jesus told this story about those that needed a job. And some were hired at the beginning of the day and they worked all day in the harvest. And then some were hired in the middle of the day. But there was those that didn't get hired till the last hour. And the man that needed help in the harvest went out, and he got them, he put them to work too. So may it be, Lord, in our time, that the workers, even those of us that maybe haven't been, somebody else is the evangelist, somebody else is the one that witnesses, but now may it be the time that this is the 11th hour, and it's time to get those of us involved that have been just wondering, is anybody going to ask us, to be part of the harvest? And Jesus told the story of the man that was put on the supper and people made excuses not to come. But in the end, he said, there's still room. Go out, make them come in. You go out to the paths, wherever you can find, it's got to be full. My banquet has to be full. So again, I'm proposing that we haven't seen that yet. May it be in our day, the time when it just seems like people are just being compelled into the kingdom. Holy Spirit can do that. So, and I'll just touch this last one that I threw in the Song of Songs scripture. So, sometimes we wonder, could Jesus come at any moment. Song of Songs, it's repeated in there. There's a time to awaken love. If our love for our bridegroom, if it's intense enough, he'll say, Dad, I've got to get down there. They want me. They're just longing for me. So there is a time to awaken that love. So you can discuss in your groups, what does that mean, to hasten the Lord's coming? Maranatha, come quickly, Lord. Yes, so sometimes we can think it's all, doesn't depend on us. Maybe that's the best way to sum up some of these scriptures, is to just say there's a harvest coming and we have a part. And may we be those workers that are needed in the harvest. So